Hello,
Hi.
Eurovision fam. It's Alicia and Michelle. Hello, I am not alone today. It's the Ladies' Choice live stream, and I'm going to kick it off and introduce right next to me from Eurovox because I've been trying to get you on the stream, but you're just so busy. And
Yeah,
you
I'm
finally graced us
sorry.
with your presence.
I'm sorry. I always wanted to be here in the other live streams you did before, but like scheduling, it's just like it didn't work. But I'm so happy, so happy I'm finally able to be here.
Yes, and longtime panelist, good friend of mine from ESC Extra. Go on and say hello to the people.
Hi, everyone. It's really good to be back. And I can't wait to talk some Eurovision. It's like a huge sort of empty space now in this vacuum after the contest.
Yes, I mean, honestly, post Eurovision depression is real. Mine hasn't set in yet. Like for me, I don't think it hits me until like August. Like I think in August is when it sort of comes down for me and I'm like, "Oh wait, that's right. I'm going to have to wait." But I feel like what's going to be exciting about this year is so many cities in Italy have sort of picked up and been like, "We want to host, we want to host, we want to host." So I'm wondering if post Eurovision depression that I felt like was going to be really, really heavy this year, maybe it won't feel that way because we could just have like this bidding war for who will host, and that'll keep us entertained for a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, have we ever had anywhere near as many cities wanting to host? I think we're up to 12.
Ooh, that's
Yeah.
fantastic.
But I mean, some
I
of them
love it. I
sound
love the
like
fact
they're
that we have
not
that. And I just,
very.
oh,
Yeah, I was just saying some of them seem like they're not actual possibilities though, because either they only have like a huge outdoor arena, like a football field or something, or they have these tiny little arenas with room for like 4,000 maybe. But we counted yesterday, and I think we're actually up to 7 real options.
Ooh.
yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to see, I think, what goes down. And bringing to the stage, I want Lisa, I want you to introduce yourself before we possibly get disconnected or anything. I love technology. When it works, it's amazing. When it doesn't, it's like, okay, we got to figure this out. But Lisa, go on and introduce yourself.
Oh,
Oh, no. See, technology. Sometimes we have it, sometimes we don't. Okay, but let's talk about Eurovision 2021 and let's just kick it off with our winners. I mean, I'm really happy. Viv knows how happy I am because we did have like a hard decision because we had a stream where we focused on just the Big Five and the Netherlands. And my like final question to everyone was like, okay, like we've got favorites in this bunch, and we definitely got quality from the bunch. But who do you want to see do the best? Like, kind of who do you want to see actually win? And I think actually all of us, maybe except for Izana, said Italy. I think all of us were like, well, like if we have to choose, if we have to pick, we wanted to see Italy do it. With what do you think? I mean, it happened basically.
Yeah, I think Sam and I were a bit like, uh, we really don't care whether it's France or Italy because we love both of them equally, just in different ways. But I do think we landed on, okay, if we have to pick one, it has to be Italy. And I mean, I had a bunch of people over that some of them are Eurovision people, but some of them aren't. And they also just went, wow, this is so good. So I think, yeah, it had to be Italy this year.
yeah. I was watching from the press center, and I was there was a big support for Italy and a big support for France. So we didn't know until the very end what was going to happen, and the tension in the press center was amazing. And when Italy won, their points were announced beforehand, and I don't think we've ever, or in a very long time, we didn't know the winner, or the winner had not been announced so early on in a way, because then we had to figure out if France would have the points or Switzerland had the points, and those last 10 minutes, I think it was one of the best shows that we've seen. For me, in my opinion, it was one of the best shows or end of the shows we had seen in a very long time. Hello,
right,
Lisa.
I think we have Lisa back.
I am back. I've changed position. I think I was a bit too far away from my Wi-Fi.
All right, well, you're back. Okay, tell us, what did you think about Italy actually winning this year?
I was thrilled with Italy winning. I liked the song. When I saw it at Sanremo, I saw it win. I really liked it. I wouldn't say I loved it, but it was, one of the ones up in my top 10 that you enjoy listening to. And by the time we saw it on stage at Eurovision and we saw the first rehearsal, I was like, well, yes, I'm very happy if my beloved Lithuania lose to Italy. I'd be fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, do folks feel like it's interesting, because for me, I wanted Italy to win, and I even looked back at this TikTok video I did, I think 2 days after Måneskin was announced as Sanremo's winner, and I remember saying in the TikTok, I was like, Italy could win, and maybe they need to win. Maybe this song really does need to win. So it's interesting sort of looking back at the things that I said about the entry. But let's not belabor it, because I do sort of feel like it's hard for me to even begin to sort of look at some of the potential crimes that happened at Eurovision 2021, because honestly, the top 10 I actually think looks pretty good. I'm actually kind of okay with the way that the top 10 shook out. And I think the top 5 were the top 5 songs that I had even said prior to these are the ones to watch, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that doesn't mean that there weren't some crimes that went down. So we can just go around the room real quick and definitely in the comments hop down and talk about the crimes that you think went down this year.
Mm-hmm. For me, if I could start, I would say Serbia, because Serbia was, I think one of the main feelings the audience wanted was to have fun in the contest. If we see the top 5 or even the top 10, there's very different genres, very different, your stereotypical pop songs. So people really wanted a rock concert, a rave, the Ukrainian rave. They wanted these funky Iceland moves. They just wanted to have fun. And for me, Serbia was really bringing the fun, the hair, the glitter, the power moves, the dance, the fire. And the fact that they ended, let's say, 15, it's a good place to end, considering other years. But it was still very low for me. I was expecting maybe that they would chart higher.
I also expected Serbia to finish higher, even though it was not among my favorites. But I mean, just the energy they brought, I thought I thought they were going to score way better with the televote. For me, though, I have to admit that I'm probably the only person on the planet of the Earth who really, really love this song. But Latvia, please.
Oh yes, yes.
Seriously, last. How's that even possible? It's such a great song, and she's such a great performer. And yeah, devastated.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree on Latvia. She worked so hard. Her energy was there. They fixed the camera angles when they had to. They did the work. You could see the work was done from the first rehearsal to the final performance. I just don't know. I just don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Latvia for me didn't do anything. I thought that ended up where it should have done. It was just a big noise. It felt very messy and very inconsistent with itself. It just felt really disjointed to me. So I think I wasn't surprised at all. Maybe I was surprised that it was at the very, very bottom of its semi-final, but there was no way on the planet I had predicted that to ever qualify from when we first heard it as a came out as a video. That's I wasn't surprised about that. I was surprised about San Marino. I thought San Marino ended up far lower down the table than they should have done, and I don't know why that is. The only thing I can reason it out is that people had seen Italy and decided, well, there we go, I've seen all the ones I need to worry about. Sweden was definitely put in as a buffer. I mean, they sacrificed Sweden this year, but it was the year you could do that because the Swedish song was just a nice song, fine, whatever. And maybe people had just kind of lost the will by the end, because you'd had that kind of onslaught of songs at the back end. By the time they got to San Marino, they were like, nah, mate, I'm done. I'm finished.
Yeah, so I would hop in
But
and kind of say,
I was going to say, I would genuinely, I mean, I know this is very controversial opinion as well. I would swap San Marino out for Switzerland, because that song does nothing for me. I don't like the song. I didn't like the performance. I wasn't keen on the staging. I just thought it was a big old whine for 3 minutes, and then it finished and we moved on to something else.
So I have seen some people talking about like, oh, having Flo Rida might have been like cheating, or it was, I mean, I didn't see it like that. It's not like Flo Rida is Beyonce or anything like that. And trust and believe, if Beyonce was on the stage, that would have won. Okay, so to call Flo Rida cheating, I'm like, I don't know if I completely subscribe to that. But I did feel like people wanted an escapist moment this year. And I think ultimately the escapism moment did win. And if we even look at the televote, I even think France's song is a little bit of escapism, because it transports you, not necessarily lyrically if you look at the song, but it does transport you to France. It feels like, it feels French. I did want to highlight a little bit, folks talking about Croatia. To be honest, I predicted ahead of time I didn't think that Croatia would qualify. But then when I saw the staging, I really thought that kind of the power of Elena and Albina would really maybe mute out Norway a little bit. Like, I got nervous because at first I thought Norway would qualify, and that was another reason why I was nervous for Croatia. And I just didn't see us getting both Azerbaijan and Croatia. But then with the staging, I was like, oh, like maybe actually this will sort of mute him out. But I mean, it did seem like Norway, I mean, it was a difference of 2 points between Croatia and Norway. So, I think Tix just edged out. And I mean, and arguably some of those points could have been from Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan gave Norway some points in the jury. So like that love actually might have helped.
We got 10 points from Azerbaijan. Norway got 10 points from Azerbaijan. So
yeah, I think the other thing I was going to say was, I don't know if I even want to say that Croatia was robbed, only because we knew we were going to lose a good song in semifinal one. Like, we really knew we were going to lose, and not just one, a couple of good songs. And we talked about Latvia. I think what happened to Latvia was the vocal. The vocal was not together. And I didn't feel super confident about the song. But let's talk about some of the surprises that happened on the stage. I always saw a path for Portugal to qualify. And I felt like I was alone on the island. Like, I could see it, though. Like, I could totally see how it could work out. And I was happy to see Portugal qualify. To be honest, I really was. I like the song. I listened to it. It's not a skip for me. But that was like one of the big surprises for me. What about y'all? What were some surprises that happened in the grand final for you?
Portugal, indeed. I'm going to take what you just said, because Portugal is not a song I would naturally gravitate to, but the visuals, I think the visuals made it for me. It was elegant. It was classy. It was just what you said. It transported you to the actual moment that the song is describing. I could see it going down. It was visually very smart.
Yeah, and what I think about Portugal is that when I listened to it when it was released, after about a minute, I was like, okay, this is getting boring. Why is nothing happening? And that's the exact moment when something happened in the performance. So it sort of pulled you back in. And then after another minute, when it was like, oh, okay, is this it? Then something else happened. So it's like every time you started getting kind of done with the song, they put in a change in the performance. And it just grabbed you back in. And it managed to hold my attention for the full 3 minutes.
Yeah, I would say this. I think what that proves is that you can take a song that is good. It was a good song, but it wasn't necessarily a great competitive song. But if you can put the right staging to it, and that doesn't always mean loads of pyro, much as I love pyro, it doesn't mean throwing, loads and loads and loads of money or stuff at the screen and at the stage. If you do it well, it can great staging and great camera work and great lighting can really lift a song and bring it into the minds of people. I was the same. I'd heard the song, I thought it was nice. I was fine with it being in there, but I wasn't convinced it was going to qualify. And then when we saw it at the first rehearsal, I was like, oh hello, Portugal. Hi, welcome.
So yeah, this is the other thing. So I think that this was such a competitive year. Oh, sorry. Go on, Clara.
No, I was going to say another surprise for me qualifying was Moldova, because I didn't think the overall performance was that good to qualify. And they were really, apparently, well, in the press conference, they really highlighted that she had this high note, the longest high note in the history of Eurovision, that was 17 seconds long. And that was the reason why it should qualify. And I thought, like, seriously? Like, Kirkorov was pointing that out constantly throughout the contest. And it was like, seriously?
Yeah, I got nothing on Moldova. That should not have qualified. Not in any way, shape, or form should that have been in the final. But we all know how things work.
I mean, before the contest, it was like, I think that was one of the like the female up-tempo songs that I sort of heard something in that spoke to me. It's like the rhythm, especially in the instrumental part. It was like, yeah, I mean, I could dance to this. But then when we saw it on stage, I was like, what are they doing? It's like, why are they doing this? This is not what we expected. This is not what they promised us in the video. Like, what is this?
That was absolutely a case of not delivering what you've promised. And we rely on Moldova to bring something a bit fun, a bit bonkers, just very Moldovan. And the one time they had a great opportunity to be the most Moldova they could be, they decided to try and play it as grown-ups. I don't want that from Moldova. I want that from the Scandinavian countries, but I don't want that from Moldova. They gave us Do Re Dos and the IKEA bookshelf unit. I don't want a woman standing on stage just singing from Moldova. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, where were the dancing ice cream cones?
Exactly. I wanted dancing donuts. What's up with that?
Yeah, and I would have saved like to watch her dance. And she's not so skilled as the dancers. Like, you cannot put 4 professional dancers and expect the main singer, who is not a professional dancer, to perform the routine in the same level, because nothing wrong with her as a dancer, but she's not a professional dancer, and that was very clearly visualized throughout the performance.
Well, to be fair, we probably had a bunch of non-professional dancers who really are singers who are attempting to dance on the stage. And I would say with Moldova, y'all know I love that song, but it really had no business being in the final. And I love the song, but I mean, that vocal performance was never correct. It was never right. It just never, ever really was right. And even for the little bit of choreography that she was doing, it was not enough to forgive the bum notes that were emerging from her mouth. And I would like to shift a little bit and talk about, like, holistically the show, because I do think that Eurovision 2021 competitively, I think song-wise, we had tons of amazing, clean studio tracks. To me, I think that this is definitely one of our stronger years when we think about like that CD, you know, the playlist of Eurovision 2021. But you know, really to have a holistic, great contest, you know, there's other elements like our interval acts, our hosts, and everything. How did y'all feel holistically about the show itself? Do you think it beat Eurovision 2016? Which I guess would be canon,
absolutely.
like probably one of
very
the
much.
best shows. Oh, y'all think it beat it?
Oh,
yes, I think this is one of the best shows we've seen, Eurovision shows we've seen in a very long time, and a fantastic television entertainment program we've seen. I think maybe it's because of the pandemic and we all wanted to be entertained, and that could be noticed in like the production of the show and also from us as the viewers. I think it was like holistically, like the whole audience and the whole builders of the show were really in it.
Yeah, and I think the hosts work really, really well together. I mean, I've seen people saying that maybe 3 hosts would be enough, but then it's like, okay, so who should we lose? Because I think all of them had a part to play in it. And I love the options and the possibilities that the stage offered. Especially with the screen that Portugal used to perfection. So yeah, I think all in all, this is maybe the best production we've ever seen.
I would very much agree with that. I think for me, you sort of mentioning about 2016. 2016 was a great show. But for me, it was just too slick. You know how SVT just make everything too slick, and it sometimes loses the heart. So it becomes an excellent television production, but it's not got quite the
human
heart and the passion. There's something missing to it. And I think
there's no soul.
This was a great show. That's it, Viv. It didn't have a soul. This was a great show that also wasn't so slick that it had like programmed out the soul element to it. It felt real and tangible. Whereas I mean, like I say, 2016 was a great show. Everyone bangs on about how good 1985 was, if you're in the old school camp like I am, and that was a great show. And 1967 is the other one that people point to and say that was a great show. But yeah, I mean, I've seen all of the shows now from start to finish, and I genuinely do think this was the best one. I think Italy, wherever it is next year, are going to have interesting job in. I don't want them to match it because I don't want every show to be. Each show is not in competition with another show, but it will be interesting to see how Italy follow on. Let's say that way.
I have a feeling that it might be more human and less super hyper production. And I also appreciate like maybe a smaller scale or more of like the human component when little mistakes make it quirky.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think that like from the first second, I mean, the flag parade, superb. I think it was really, really good. And it didn't take forever. I mean, the flag parade in Stockholm took like half an hour.
Yeah.
I mean, have you ever had a contest that where the first song started like after 8 minutes?
It was pretty quick. Yeah, we have had some. It tends to average between kind of 8 to 12 minutes from the start of the show to the beginning, to the first song. And this was definitely on the lower end of it. I think there was one that was only 6 minutes and we were into it, but I can't remember which one it was. But I remember thinking, oh my gosh, you know, that was really quick. It might have been Belgrade actually, but I'm not sure. The other thing I noticed, and this is the Ladies' Choice show, so we should say, I think this is the first time we've had a female voiceover. It's always been a bloke saying, you know, with the flag ceremony, Armenia, Azerbaijan, welcome to the 60 Eurovision Song Contest. We had a female voiceover this year, and I think that's the first one we've had, because it's kind of deemed that women can't do that. The female voice doesn't have the gravitas to be able to introduce a show. And clearly it does, because it was great. But I noticed that. I don't know if anyone else did.
No, I think that's a nice point to kind of point out. Yeah, I hadn't noticed, but that's actually interesting if that is in fact true. Now, I want to pivot because one of the big moments of Eurovision 2021 was what? Spain, Germany, UK, and was it the Netherlands too?
Yes.
All getting 0 points from the televote. What do you all make of that? For me personally, I didn't hate it, and I'll tell you why. The reason why I didn't hate it was because I was like, we need the televote winner to win, like low key. So in order to ensure that that happens, we got to leave some people out. We just need to focus our energy and like dial it down and make it like undeniable. It doesn't matter what the jury's really set up. We need to decide this collectively. And in order for that really to happen, some countries just going to get piddled, you know, with 1, 2, 3 points. We needed all of those points to be allocated properly. So that was the only reason why I wasn't that bummed about it. But yeah, what did y'all think?
I was a bit surprised that Germany got 0 from the televote, because that's one of the songs that really sort of got my guests going, especially the non-Eurovision people. So I kind of expected that to get some points. I didn't expect it to do great, but I expected it to, I don't know, lower third somewhere, but high up in the lower third. We talked about, I think, in the Big Five in Netherlands panel, that we didn't really expect Netherlands to do very well, but we really admired what they were doing. So that didn't really surprise me. I was more surprised that they didn't get more from the juries. Spain and the UK, they were really always fighting it out for last place, weren't they?
Yeah.
Yes. As a Spanish person, I think this is really good that happened, because this is going to show the Spanish delegation, or like the Spanish TV, that they really need to step their game up, because it's not okay. We've clearly seen that it's not good enough to just take a song to the Eurovision that is correct. It has to be memorable. It doesn't matter, like only the staging has to be good. It has to be a combination of the personality of the singer, how approachable he is, how approachable the whole delegation is to also the reporters, and how well a country can network and be likable. You have to keep in mind that you have to get all the countries in Europe to like your song. So how can you get all the different cultures to vote for your country? So a correct song is not going to cut it anymore. It has to be memorable in the right ways.
or Moldova.
Or Moldova, exactly.
I mean, I could say the same for the UK, but it's kind of the same but different, in as much as the signal that's sent out to the BBC, who run the UK delegation, will have fallen absolutely completely on deaf ears. And I think one of the problems that people have with the UK is that they don't really understand what's going on behind the scenes. So the UK, the BBC, are being judged on the audience viewing figures on the night. If they get high enough viewing figures, then their KPIs say that it was a success. What goes on the stage is they're not even judged on that. So why would they even bother trying to change or care? They don't care what goes on the stage. They'd like to win it, but they don't know how to win it, and they won't talk to us no matter what we do. The last time they spoke to us as a sort of, even as like OGAE, or to the fans, or to people who do this stuff, who sit and study it and know what we're talking about, the last time they spoke to us was 2015 after Electro Velvet. And we've been saying the same thing for the past 6 years. The contest has moved on. We don't want cheesy pop. It's not a kitsch fest. This is not 2002. And you get bored saying it. So we've basically just left them to hang themselves, to be honest.
Do you think it's a matter of pride from the people that choose the songs, or the upper entities?
The people who choose the songs have no idea what they're doing. No idea what they're doing. And even you think when we had a national final, you remember a few years ago we had
Yes.
national finals, but we weren't really given national finals. We were given 6 songs that all sounded relatively the same with a different face singing them. So it wasn't a national final. Like people talk about, why don't we have something like, people say over here, why don't we have something like Melody Festival? And you're like, it's just not going to work, because it would just be 6 weeks of the same song. You've got nothing to choose from, so it's no.
And it's infuriating because the UK is one of the biggest export markets in music, and it has so many great artists. Like,
and I'm thinking that.
Yes, yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
The same could be said about Spain. Like, we have a big market and we export great music to Latin America. Why can't we like have something like this in Eurovision?
Yeah, because I'm thinking that the people who decide what to send, how to select a song, they might not realize that Eurovision has moved on. It seems like they're still thinking that this is, I don't know, Eurovision music, not just music.
I saw an interview with James Newman. Sorry, Viv. I saw an interview with James Newman where he was told how to write the song for Eurovision. That's 0 points right there. That is, you've guaranteed yourself last place if you are telling a decent songwriter who is a really talented songwriter how to write, how to do his craft.
Because what I'm thinking is, if you look at what did well this year, this is not Eurovision music. This is music.
Absolutely.
And I'm really hoping that all the delegations, all the broadcasters look at this and think, okay, maybe we also need to send music, not try to manufacture something that we think is for Eurovision, because it doesn't work.
Unless I think that's why we're so
yeah, or Sweden sometimes.
Yeah. I think that's why we're so happy about Italy winning and this Eurovision, and maybe why the post-Eurovision depression will hit slightly later, because we are so happy music won. This is a big victory for music. The whole top 10 is a big victory for music.
Yeah, and I mean, for the first time in a long time, I'm super, super happy with the top 2, because it was my top 2.
Mine too.
Not quite mine, but close enough.
I think that this top 10 was really, the top 10 this year was really, really, I think, reflective, not only of like genre diversity, but like still slightly the charts. And when I say the charts, I mean the charts plural. You know, we got the rock music, we got the electronic dance scene, we've got pop. You know, it really was, I think, a nice diverse piece. We're still not seeing hip hop on the Eurovision stage in the way that I personally would like to see it happen on the Eurovision stage. I don't think that we're there yet, but I do feel like it's coming within the next 10 years. Isn't it crazy? I have to say 10 years. Like in the next 10 years, I think it is going to happen. I think the other question that I kind of wanted to ask too was, we also saw this celebration of songs not in English. And I think we've been saying for years that I don't think that people necessarily want this. And I think part of that, the song has to be in English psyche, is like this thing that people just say, and because they've said it so much, it's just become sort of like this fact. And it's not a fact. It's an urban legend. It doesn't really exist. And I also would like to say, after 2019, seeing so many of the juries blanking on not, a native language songs not in English, I do feel happy that the juries woke up a little bit this year. Not completely, but woke up a little bit this year and got it together, because 2019 to me was low-key. Like, looking at the jury scores in 2019, I found to be extremely frustrating. I'm not saying that they were leagues better this year, but they made a little bit more sense to me this year. What did y'all think of some of those jury scores?
I think, considering that the ballots won, and the juries, when we all say, oh, this is a jury pleaser, we all think about ballads. I think it's true that juries will push up the ballads, but maybe we have to stop thinking, or they should stop thinking, that ballads is the classical way of doing music, and be more into what's on the charts and what do people want. And there's really good music productions that don't necessarily are as serious as a ballad, that should also be pushed up. Anyone else? No?
I think we're waiting for you, Lisa.
I mean, I'll.
Oh, sorry. I'll happily talk. I was waiting for you, Viv.
I am
okay,
open
jury.
to hearing what y'all think about the juries. I'm
Okay,
opening my mouth.
I think you're absolutely right. I would really like to see a little more diversity in the jurors. I think they generally tend to be from quite a narrow corner of the music industry. I mean, I would like to see that. We were just talking about the UK beforehand. I'd like to see the UK delegation. I mean, this is in Fantasyland because it's never going to happen. I'd like to see them fishing for songs in a bigger pond than they're just in here, this like radio friendly white British music. I'd like to see them look beyond those borders and look at the great diversity we have in this country of music and start exploring that. But I'd like to see the same with juries, not just here in the UK, but across the board. I think the juries are very radio friendly type people in the music industry, less this kind of much wider music world that exists in Europe. And so I'd like to see more diversity in the juries, and I think that maybe might help to just kind of push that jury opinion, and that this whole opinion about that's a jury note, and that's a I think that might help challenge that and really push the juries to do better. Not that they're doing bad, as you say, they are improving, but I think a greater diversity would be really good.
I agree that they're doing better, actually, because the jury votes this year were a lot less predictable than they normally are. Seeing how much the juries actually appreciated things like Italy, Finland. I mean, rock isn't normally a jury type of song. So I'm actually thinking that the juries are evolving a bit, but I do think we need to change the jury system. I think that there need to be more people. And I also think that we need to change the way the juries vote, because one person on the jury putting a song last kills it. And I think that is very much power in the hands of one person. So there has to be a way of, I don't know, maybe just going back to where they just rank the top 10. So they don't have, so they don't have the chance to vote a song down. I don't know. There are probably tons of ways of doing this, but I think the way we're doing it now is not the right one.
Yeah, I think it probably worked.
Sorry, Lisa.
I think it probably worked maybe 10, 15 years ago for the contest, but I think it probably doesn't work now. I'm with you, Viv. I would really like to see larger juries. I think 5 people that's a very, very small. You don't have almost what I was saying. I'm saying I want a bit of diversity, but I think within the 5 people, you don't have scope to be able to diversify too much. I'd really love to see, 10, 12 people maybe on a jury as a starter, and then see what happens, because I think that might just produce different results and would give a wider kind of view of what juries and what music industry professionals from different walks of life around Europe are looking for and what they think. I think also being a little more aware of how juries are supposed to judge and the specific elements. And here's what I would like to see while we're in Fantasyland. I would like to see each juror be able to give their score, but then have to write something that justifies why they've given that score. Why have you marked that down? Why have you marked that up? Doesn't have to, I'm not like, you know, war and peace, but I think they should be asked to justify those scores, because I think we do see jurors maybe competitively marking things down that maybe in competition with their own country song, or marking things up in order to bump other things down. So I think there are easy ways to manipulate a jury score, and having to justify why you've scored something. I would love to see that.
I think it would be so interesting, and we would learn so much. Also, what the professionals see in a song that maybe the audience we don't see. Maybe like the jury vote could not be like 50%, maybe a smaller percentage out of the whole vote, because at the end of the day, it's the audience who is going to follow the band. It's the audience who's going to stream the music, and who can make or break a band in a way, or a singer or an act. It's the ones that will decide if they will listen to it or not. The danger is that the troll act might win if Europe is in a very sarcastic mood. But in a way, you know, the audience, the public, it's their choice in a way.
For me, I think I would want to see the juries at like a 60-40 percentile type of thing. I think we put the juries at 40, put the public at 60. And I think my biggest thing too is I think that the jury should actually be music professionals, not television producers, not sand artists or anything like that. You should know what it is like to go in a studio and compose and sing a song. Because I'm telling you, if I see any more jury scores that reward bum notes, that is the thing that I like. I mean, it's just like she was flat the whole time. Like, I cannot with like 12 points to anything that's flat, 10 points to anything that was flat. Low key, anything above 5 to something that was flat when we had like flawless vocal performances. That is, I think, a challenge for me. And then I would say the other thing that I would be curious about, well, I don't know if this is even really possible. I love the idea of them actually having to like justify their scores and actually write it out. But to me, what is really glaring is if I were on a jury and I submitted my points and I did not include the song that won anywhere in my scores, I would be embarrassed. Like, I would be personally embarrassed that I just completely missed this moment happening. So I think it was like 4 to 5 countries this year that didn't have like Italy winning. And I mean, it's happened in the past too. And I understand that there's different tastes and whatnot. But the song that wins, you don't have not 1 point to send that way. I would be embarrassed off that.
And I'm also thinking we saw juries not giving any points to France. We saw juries placing Switzerland almost last. And I'm thinking, what did they hear that the rest of us didn't? Because, I mean, France was my shared first place. I didn't really care much for Switzerland, but I do hear that this is good music, even though it's not for me.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering, what did these people hear or not?
Yeah.
Did they have a bathroom break at that time? Or, I mean, I don't get it. Because, I mean, yeah, we have different taste in music, but there were more than one song in the top 10 that I didn't personally like. But if I were on a jury, I would still say, I don't like this, but I hear that this is good. It's just not for me. And apparently there are juries that don't think like that. I don't know. It just surprises me.
I think Portugal is a very great example of this. Like, it's not the typical kind of song people would naturally gravitate, but we can recognize it's good, it's well produced, it's elegant, there's something there. And what you say about juries not including France or Switzerland or Italy in some of their, it's mind-blowing. It's really, I have no explanation for this, because you can at least know, or if you are a musical professional, you can know there's work there, there's things you can hone on. But if they skipped it, it's unbelievable.
And I'm also thinking
the point of the juries is to kind of go over this whole musical taste. The juries are given criteria with which they are supposed to make a judgment and put a score against it. And one of those is what we're talking about now. You know, can this person hit the notes that they're supposed to hit? If they can, then they get high points. If they can't, UK, then they get no points. Like it shouldn't matter whether you like the song. What if the singer is hitting the right notes, they get the higher points. That's what the juries are supposed to do. The televote is I really like this. The jury vote is this up to the standard that it needs to be up? But I feel like the jury vote is just basically almost has got to the point of being a concentrated televote.
Yeah, in several countries, I think you're absolutely right. There are some countries where the people on the juries should be given a phone and televote instead. And I think that when you get juries who don't give any points, or at least very, very low points, to the top 3, at least then they should be asked to sort of justify their points.
Yeah, because I'm like you, Viv. Switzerland, to my taste in music, that was just nothing to me. I will never listen to that song again. But I can see it's a well-written, well-crafted, well-produced song sung by an artist with an excellent voice and vocal range, and was staged really professionally. I just don't like it. But that should still mean I give it 10 or 12 points if I'm in a jury, because I'm judging it based on the criteria to judge, not whether I like it or not. I don't, and that's fine. Doesn't mean it's not good.
Well, I was going to shift us a little bit and kind of talk about, you know, what song, and we sort of talked about Latvia earlier, I know, for you, Clara, and but what song, we're kind of going back to the semis, didn't qualify that you were really shocked by? And I guess I'll go first. It's interesting because I don't want to say that I was shocked by Ireland not qualifying, because we all knew that it was possible. I thought that it was going to qualify, and I wanted it to qualify, but I wasn't shocked sort of when it didn't qualify. But, you know, a part of me was a little bit, and I should say, I had prepared myself for Romania not qualifying, and this was even before the rehearsals and everything. So that wasn't really shocking to me. I think I said this earlier with Croatia. I was a little bit surprised to see Croatia not make it through. I thought that it had enough support, and I didn't think that the running order was really to its disadvantage. I think like there wasn't anything that I would necessarily change. I did like what they did at Dora. I thought that they could recreate that on the stage, but I did think they sort of needed to do what they did on the stage in Rotterdam to truly solidify it. But yeah, I think Croatia was probably the one that I was most surprised sort of not to see go, even though I had thought that we wouldn't get Azerbaijan and Croatia. So I don't know, maybe I'm more surprised that certain songs did qualify than didn't, because I was, you know, sort of prepared. But I just thought I'd give y'all a moment to kind of reflect on the ones that got away.
Okay, well, I've definitely got one, and that's Austria in semi-final 2. So I've got one that I was surprised that didn't qualify, and one that I was disappointed that didn't qualify. And that I was surprised about Austria. I thought that song was different enough to have garnered enough points, particularly from the juries, what we were talking about before. And it just didn't. And I was really surprised by that. And we all, you know, did our sheet about, you know, we submit like which ones we think gonna qualify and who wins. And of the 10 of us playing in our little group, 9 of us had Austria on our list to qualify. We'd all kind of seen that and gone, yeah, this is and I was convinced that was a fairly surefire qualifier, not like a scrape through one, but one that was, pretty destined for it. And I think the other one that I was not in any way surprised, but I was disappointed because I really love it. And I think it would have added a bit of diversity to Saturday night, was Vasil from North Macedonia. I knew it wasn't going to qualify, but I still loved it. And I think it would have been lovely to see, but, he's really happy with his performance and everything that happened. So, but yeah, for me, Austria was the surprise, I think.
For me, it would have been Slovenia and Denmark, because Denmark, to start with, I think the guys were so much fun, and they were really sympathetic characters. They were really nice characters. They were very lovable or enjoyable, and the fact that they played into the whole Eurovision fandom, reacting to their own reactions. I think they had maybe they took it a little bit far on the parody, and that is what made people not connect fully with them. But I thought everyone was going to enjoy a fully 80s song, considering the trends.
I think that what I said about Denmark is that we have a lot of 80s inspired songs this year. And then we have a song that's basically just taken from the 80s and put here, because that song I heard back in the 80s. Yes. Because I remember the 80s. And I think a lot of people were kind of, it's okay
to
sort of have a
in the background, by the way. Just say hi to my mom.
I mean, it's fine to have like hints of times past, but it has to be sort of brought into our
context,
millennium. Yeah. So I'm not at all surprised that Denmark didn't qualify, because I think it was too, I don't know, theatrical. It didn't feel real. It felt like sort of, I don't know, almost like a parody of the 80s.
Yeah.
So yeah, that didn't surprise me at all. I think I was surprised by Austria not qualifying. I was also a bit surprised that Czech Republic didn't qualify. Looking at what we thought before, but I mean, after seeing the sort of rather lackluster performance, I was sort of, every performance, every rehearsal, I was like, now he's going to turn it on. Now he's going to get going. And he kind of never did. So I think that was a disappointment. In semi one, I think the one I thought would qualify and the one I really hoped would was Australia. Because I mean, I love her. I love just about everything she's done. And her live on tape was stunning. At least I think so. So yeah, I was a bit surprised that didn't qualify.
In the end, I had put Australia on my list to qualify. I thought there was enough there, and I thought there was enough in the story of it as well, in her not being able to travel, this whole virus thing. Like, I thought there would be enough in the story that surrounds. I mean, every 3 minutes on stage has the story that surrounds it, and that can play into whether a song qualifies. It will never determine a winner, but it plays into whether a song qualifies, and how much radio time it gets, what the commentators say about it, I think is really important. So at the end, I didn't have Australia on my list for the longest time, but when it came to actually picking my ones I thought would qualify, I did have Australia on the list, and they didn't qualify. But I'm with you on Czech Republic. I mean, Benny is just a gorgeous human being, but he never quite turned it up to 11. In fact, I don't think he got much past 6 or 7 really, which is you got to turn it up to 11 if you want to stand a hope of qualifying. I'd say the same for Slovenia on that as well. Anna can deliver vocally, but I don't think she ever went beyond that. And I think that's why Slovenia failed, not because it wasn't a good vocal performance. It was, but there was just nothing else there. Nothing else there at all.
She really didn't seem very comfortable, did she?
No, not at all. Not at all. And she sort
No.
of, she never looked like she was enjoying it. She always looked like she wanted to be somewhere else. Maybe she did. I don't know.
Which is a shame because her vocals are stunning.
Yeah.
I think she deserved a better song. And I also think she might have deserved lower heels because she looked very uncomfortable walking in those shoes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The shoes in this Eurovision are something to behold.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say she probably could have had better shoes, but arguably she's had those shoes since March 1st. If not before that. So she had a whole month and some change to walk around and get comfortable in those heels. And if that wasn't going to happen, then she needed a thicker heel. Same thing for Natalia.
That's exactly what I said.
Yeah, Natalia needed a thicker heel too. That would have given her a little bit more comfort, and maybe she could have, controlled her breath better to get those notes out on the pitch and key. All right, so it's interesting because we talk about like songs being competitive, and a lot of like Eurovision, it is the package, and I think 50% of Eurovision is how you deliver that song on the stage. It's not just the studio track, right? The studio track is one piece, and then the other 50% is how you deliver it on stage. And I'm not gonna lie, this year I just felt like several countries missed the mark when it came to the staging, and arguably I had better staging packages created for some of them. Australia being one, Czech Republic being another one at the top of my list, and low-key Slovenia. Like those three countries,
Norway.
I felt like I had a nice package. Norway could have really, I think, reflected the music video as opposed to doing what they did at the national selection. But so those are my countries that I'm like, I really feel like the staging could have been better. So before we close out, and now that we've seen the live on tape versions, if y'all want to share like what you think you would have done that would have made this country either qualify or come top 10 at Eurovision. What do you think?
I will immediately jump in with Ireland. I absolutely could have staged that song and put that song in the grand final. That was a grand final worthy song that was entirely ruined by the staging, 100%, because Leslie had about 87 things to think about before actually getting the notes out of her mouth. And we've seen her perform that song live, and it's always been a little on the edge. They needed to give her the least amount to do. Stand still with a microphone, give her a fake guitar, put some map imagery, some cool, like overlay graphic stuff going on. That song would have been in the grand final if I had staged it. I will always maintain that is true.
One thing I don't understand about Ireland is that you can hear in the chorus that maybe the song is a little bit too high for her vocal range. So I really don't understand what is why wouldn't she lower it a semitone or a tone just to be more comfortable, because she can't really hit the high notes and like have the perfect pitch on them.
I feel like she could have done if she hadn't had to be worrying about whether she was looking through this bit of paper and what that bit of paper there was doing, and whether the people flipping the camera books and whether she was standing on exactly the right spot. I feel like if she didn't have all that to do and all she had to do was concentrate on the vocal performance, those notes are not beyond her range if she doesn't have all this other stuff to have to think about.
I actually compared that to Iceland in 2015, because she had like 625 different camera angles to worry about, and she had to move around, and she had to sit down, and she could very easily have performed that song flawlessly if she did not have all that to worry about. So I see exactly what you say.
Yeah. that's what lost it for Ireland. That's what kept them out of the grand final, not the song, nothing like that. I think the other one, while I'm here and I've got the stage, the other one we have to talk about is Malta. I've seen a few people say about is Malta. You know, that was, you have to look at what's happening now with the staging. And, you know, we talk about Sasha Jean-Baptiste as this like amazing staging person, which she is. But there's been a really subtle change in what's happened with her company, in that you now get songs that are produced or staged by the Baptiste group. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's Sasha that's done it. It's somebody in her delegation or in her company. And I think that's exactly what happened with Malta. Sasha had all her focus was on Switzerland, which was great, good, well staged. It fitted the song really well. But that meant that she was not focused on Malta. She did, yeah. She had 4, didn't she, this year?
Yeah, I think, yeah, and I think, like, because to me, you can kind of tell that I think she really led on Albania and Switzerland. And and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, because honestly, I didn't think that the staging was that bad. Like, to me, I feel like we could nitpick it, but like nobody at home is really going to nitpick it like that. And I think that that's very obvious when you look at how it performed in the semi compared to what happened in the final, when the running order for it was really garbage, low key. But I think Keisha took the lead on Destiny's, which I actually think made sense. I think that, you know, there was an energy and a synergy between the two creators there that Keisha could kind of like really reflect what Destiny wanted on the stage. So
yeah, I just think you have to be really careful as a company, as a creative production company, not to stretch yourself too thin. And I feel like even for Sasha, who's got, you know, quite a lot of people who work for her, I feel like 4 is pushing it just slightly. And I think we kind of saw the layers.
But Marvin,
not be
how
quite
many did
as
Marvin
perfect.
have though?
I think Marvin had,
but Bulgaria, Spain,
Austria,
Cyprus, Austria.
Do you know, just
Germany.
saying about Cyprus,
Marvin had more than Sasha.
He did. I don't know. Anyway, Malta was completely and utterly tanked by the running order, but there are things I would have done differently there. That's all.
I think that the Maltese performance worked, especially the way they decided to style her in the end. She looked like the 18-year-old she is, and she looked like she was having fun.
Yeah.
And I think for that song, that was key, to make her look like what she is, doing what she likes. And I think it worked. I'm very, very happy they didn't do the dress in the live on tape. Because that would not have fit that song at all. Because the song needed sparkle or fringes or whatever. I mean, even in the first dress she had in the first rehearsals, you had fringes, you had movement, you had fun, you had young, which is what she and that song needed. So I don't think that was too bad, actually. For me, it's always going to be Moldova.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, whatever changes you did to that, it would be an improvement.
Yeah.
Because it didn't make any sense. And it didn't play to her strengths. And it sort of didn't add anything to the song. You were just going, this performance and this song, they don't add up, do they? And I'm also going to say Greece, actually.
Yes, I was just thinking about Greece.
Yeah.
I totally agree with you. That was a hot mess. Carry on, Viv.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it was. I mean, if you're going to do something like that, you have to make sure it works 100%. You can't have sort of like the shadows of the legs showing and especially that recap clip they chose. Like, what was that all about? Nothing happened. She was just standing in midair. It was like everything about that was wrong.
While you're on that video I swear that video in the back of their green screen was last year's video for Supergirl, and she was supposed to be flying, because she was climbing up nothing. She was standing on nothing. They should have had her climbing up when she was climbing up a fantasy staircase, standing on water, something that's not possible, because all you're doing is saying, we've got a green block here and we're putting a video behind it. It looked to me like a sixth form green screen project, a college green screen project, not a professionally produced thing. I was really angry about Greece, because I was like, you've just been lazy. That's all you've been lazy. I think Islands was lazy. I think Islands was last year's staging as well, because her song was the story of my life and it was all about storybooks. So I won't accept lazy staging. Anyone who's watching, I won't accept it. And I will read you to filth if you do it.
I think a lot of people did rely heavily on the plans for last year.
Yes. Azerbaijan, just saying.
Yeah, for instance.
I, however, was very entertained by Greece. I thought whoever thought about all that and came out with that out of scratch of their minds, it's kind of hilarious. I was very entertained, to be honest.
I think I mean, slipped through the net, and I don't know how it's managed to do that, because it should have been one that everyone was going, I see what they're doing, but they haven't done it right. But it's managed to slip through. Maybe the song and the performance, she was excellent. So, maybe there was enough there that people could overlook the shoddy staging.
Yeah, because I mean, I think she really deserved better staging.
Yeah, she did. Because she had a good song.
The song's good. She's vocally amazing. Possibly one of the best singers we had this year.
Amen.
I was just a bit underwhelmed, I think, because especially when they go out and beforehand and say that we're bringing something that's never been seen before. And
they have to be.
You're like, oh, green screen, excellent. Yeah, that's not been used since the 1980s. Wow, revolutionary.
Yeah. we hear every year that someone's going to do something we've never seen before, and people have to be very careful when they say that.
Yeah. Yeah, because there are people going to pick their performance to pieces and say, this has been done before, this has been done before, this we saw in 92.
The only person that's done that I can remember, like in recent years of me kind of being here and doing this stuff at the contest, that really said beforehand, we're going to bring something you've never seen before to the Eurovision stage. And they did, was Australia with Kate Miller-Heidke. That's it. Everyone else is saying they brought something and we're like, yeah, but we've kind of seen it before. We had never seen bendy poles at Eurovision, and it worked, and it was brilliant.
Well, I just wanted to say thank you all so much for joining me. I think we help people get through a little bit of this post-Eurovision depression that they might be feeling, even though I don't think it goes into high gear yet. So if you're feeling post-Eurovision depression right now, honestly, you should subscribe to my channel. You should go hop on over to Eurovox, subscribe to them, subscribe to ESC Extra. And Lisa Jane, who do you want to plug?
You can find us All Out Eurovision. That's the show I've been working for this year. So All Out Eurovision, or you can find ESC Insight. Those are my good friends there as well.
Nice.
Yes.
Thank you ever so much for having us. This was so much fun.
And thank you, Hannah, too. And yeah, thank y'all so much for joining me. Honestly, see you next year, because I'm going to be there. I'm going to be in Italy.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
We're all going to be
gelato.
there.
Should we have a gelato ladies' day in Italy?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank y'all so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.